I'd say I've been involved with Pokemon in my gaming career. I've I've been in a Pokemon parody series. Not many people can say that, I suppose, but I haven't actually done a Nuzlocke challenge. So I decided to do one. Why not? I've been looking for that old school Pokemon experience. Why not play an old school Pokemon game in a Nuzlocke form in order to figure out if it's a fun thing to do or a more challenging thing to do? Just see what it's like. So, for anyone who's never done a Nuzlocke before, it is essentially like a hard mode for a Pokemon game. It is a fan game format. There's no official thing from the Pokemon Company or Nintendo. There's no official rule set. Essentially, you play the game you want to play. The core rules that most people agree on is that if a Pokemon faints, it is done. It is retired. It is dead. You put it in a box and you never touch it again, which is what I did for this thing. I never really feel too much of a need to release a Pokemon, so it feels a little weird to do that. So I just put him in the retirement home, a box labeled retirement home, and called it a day. The second main rule is that the first Pokemon you encounter in a route or a named area, including a city, is your first and only chance to catch a Pokemon on that route. For example, you walk through the first route and you find a Rattata, and that's your one chance to catch a Pokemon on that route. You either catch the Rattata or you faint it. That's your chance. So a popular option is a duplicates clause, where if you have a Rattata and you find a Rattata on a second route, that doesn't count. You can choose to have something else be your encounter for that route. I didn't do that this time, so yes, I caught duplicate Pokemon, and yeah, I can understand why some people don't. Some people have a duplicates clause rule because it is definitely annoying when it's like, oh, another rat, another Pidgey, another Oddish, whatever. Like that can definitely be annoying. So for the Safari Zone, well, I guess I should say I ended up doing a Nuzlocke for Firered. Um, I never feel much of a need to play anything before the third generation. Fire Red, I think, is maybe the best version of the Gen 1 Pokemon games. So I have it for Game Boy Advance, and I played it on an actual Game Boy Advance plugged up to a wall with a wall adapter. Mine is a little bit broken, so it doesn't really stick in there as much. And yes, I did accidentally turn it off by the thing falling out a couple times. So uh, I got through a fair portion of the Silphco Tower and thought I saved, but apparently I saved and it came undone too fast. So, but anyway, the Safari Zone has a whole bunch of rules or different ways you can go about it. Essentially, the Safari Zone has 4 separate areas. Some people go, each area is a chance to catch Pokemon. Some people go, you only get the one chance, and if it runs away, who cares? Life sucks. Get a helmet. I went the fun route of you can catch as many Pokemon as you want, but you have to choose one out of those choices. So those are the basic idea of a Nuzlocke. I started with Charmander because I felt like it. Some people use a randomizer to pick your starting Pokemon, but I picked Charmander, not realizing that Charmander might be the hard mode of the first gen anyway, because when you get to Brock and Misty, you're like, wow, I really didn't get to plan for this that well because I was restricted in what Pokemon I had available to me, and Charmander was not the best choice. Thankfully, in Fire Red, he does learn a Steel move, so you have a little bit of a chance against Brock, but that was who I chose. So I'm going to cover a lot of ground here because at this point in time, I am on Cinnabar Island approaching the 7th gym. So in general, I would say the beginning of the game is a lot harder than the middle because you have less options, and those options are not optimized, and those options don't have TMs, and those options are kind of weak. The first Pokemon I lost was actually against Raichu, the 3rd gym. I was doing pretty well. I managed to get through Brock using a combination of the Metal Claw from Charmander and I don't know what else, just like a hodgepodge of things. I was able to get it done. I think I had like a Pidgey or Ratchata, a Beedrill who ended up being just an awful Pokemon. Beedrill is not good. Holy cow! Especially in that gen where like I actually caught a Kakuna, so I didn't even get Tackle. I had like Harden and Twin Needle maybe, and like I think I taught it Cut at a certain point, but like that thing was terrible. It was not good. I got through Brock, but it was a bit of a miracle, and I think I actually burned an important Pokemon, which made it not be able to attack me for so much damage. Thank goodness. I got through Misty on the strength of a Gloom, essentially, or an Oddish. I was able to catch an Oddish on one of the routes north of Cerulean City, and actually forced an Oddish by controlling the level of Pokemon that would show up with Repel. It doesn't work on very many routes. There's a lot of routes in that game where the Pokemon are all the same level, but if you use Repel and the level of your Pokemon that's going to fight the wild Pokemon, you can kind of pick and choose at some point in time. So I found an Oddish on one route and then went to another route. I found an Oddish there. Figured that was a good backup, especially because, like, what are your options? Another Pidgey and a Rattata. So I lost a Diglett against Raichu because I was sloppy and kind of stupid. I wasn't too broken up about that because I figured in general I was going to need more well-rounded, tougher Pokemon, and Diglett is not that Pokemon. Diglett is kind of a glass cannon in a lot of ways. Considering it died to like quick attacks from Raichu, for example. I also lost my first Gloom due to a Raticate's Hyper Fang crit. I was worried at that point in the game because I recognized that Rattatas and Raticates were kind of glass cannons when I used them, but facing them, especially early on in the game, a Raticate with a Hyper Fang is a pretty strong stab move, and I was pretty sure it critted more often than a regular move. So I had a Gloom. I taught it a Grass TM, and it super duper died to that Raticate. And I was like, oh boy, that's not good because I need something to deal with water Pokemon and rock Pokemon and ground Pokemon and all these important types of Pokemon that Charmander couldn't deal with. So I ended up getting that Oddish that I had in reserve and trained that up. And at this point, it's a Vileplume. So good job on that one. I did have a Raticate myself that I lost due to self-destruct. I did not realize that coughing learned self-destruct at that lower level, and it critted. That self-destruct critted, and there went my Raticate. Yay! Good job, Chris. Later on in the game, I got an Execute from the Safari Zone because I was worried about Slowbro. Some of my team seemed like they were going to have problems with Slowbro. So out of the Pokemon I got, which was like both the Nidorans, a couple water Pokemon, and Execute, I went with Execute because I figured that would handle that well. I was surfing on my way to Cinnabar Island, and I was fighting a trainer's Tentacruel, and I was like, okay, Psychic does good against Poison. Forgetting that it was essentially a cross match, and the acid from a Tentacruel would not do well with my Execute. And it was gone, and I went, okay, well, that's on me. I guess I'm going to have to deal with Slowbro in other ways. So, got through a lot of gyms. Grass Gym was no problem for a Charmeleon, no duh. The Poison Gym, it took a while to get to, and I forgot how annoying that part of the first game is, the first gen is, going down to Fuchsia through very long routes with kind of the same Pokemon over and over again. One route you get a bunch of Doduos and stuff like that, and so many self-destructing coughing, and the other route it's a lot of the same bird Pokemon and other kind of basic ass Pokemon. So Fuchsia, I ended up getting a Venonat on the way to Fuchsia City, trained that up to be a Venomoth. That ended up being a pretty good counter to poison Pokemon and fighting Pokemon because it learned those psychic moves and could kind of take those attacks pretty well. It could take the poison attacks. It didn't seem like it could be poisoned either based on its typing or its ability, and it kind of resisted fighting moves too. So that helped out, and I did catch a Graveler at a certain point, so that was also good against a lot of poison Pokemon. I think it may have walled the self-destructing coughings, for example. And then I think at that point I had a Charizard, and I'll tell you what, stab flamethrower from a Charizard is a pretty good way to solve your problems if you don't have anything else better to do. When I got to, I was worried about Sabrina. I was worried about things like Alakazam. So, and I think I was a little over worried after training up all these Pokemon, not really grinding that much, but just fighting all the trainers in the Silphco Tower and everything like that. Like, my team was kind of ready. So, and Charizard ended up being the thing that took out a lot of stuff. So, Kadabra opens up. I thought it would be Mr. Mime first for some reason, so I had planned for my Charizard to flamethrower that Mr. Mime to death before it could set up any defenses for the rest of its team. It was a Kadabra, and it was like, oh, well, I guess I'm just going to flamethrower you, because I think I ended up being faster, and that Kadabra was... Mr. Mime came out, and I think it ended up setting up a barrier, but I'm not sure that affected what I was doing. Flamethrower gone. And then she has a Venomoth for some reason because of this psychic attacks and the fact that I guess there aren't enough psychic Pokemon for her to have. There's Hypno. I don't know why she didn't have a Hypno. Or if she did, I just destroyed it without thinking about it. But Venomoth comes out, and hey, that's exactly what a stab flamethrower is for. So that's gone. And then Alakazam is here. And I was like, okay, well, I guess Charizard took out most of her team, as we all expected a random fire Pokemon to do. I specifically picked my Eevee evolution because I was worried about psychic Pokemon. There's a whole bunch of water Pokemon that you could choose from, but I still was worried enough about psychic Pokemon and didn't see a whole lot of ways to deal with it in this game where the ghost Pokemon can be taken out by the psychics. There's not really a lot of Dark or Steel running around for obvious reasons, so I ended up going with a Vaporeon. I figured the Vaporeon could take the special attacks from a Alakazam or another strong psychic attacker and just use Bite in order to wear it down pretty fast. And that's exactly what happened. It took a psychic to the face. It didn't care that much. And then it had a couple bites, and that was it. That was it for Sabrina, one of the... maybe the gym leader I was most worried about besides the first two. Took it out. So right now I'm heading to Cinnabar Island. I'm not worried about him at all. I'm not really worried about Giovanni. I think the next big test will be the Elite Four. So this is my team at this point in time. I got the Charizard. I was worried of potentially losing a Charizard or a Charmander at some point because in modern Pokemon games, a rock attack means that that Pokemon is probably gone. But I have learned in playing this game that, man, Gen 3 was like hilarious in the moves that the Pokemon could learn, and that they're really not very varied. And when you get a thing like a Bite on a Vaporeon, it's almost like you're almost like really excited because it's an actual coverage move that you don't have to use a TM on, and that it just naturally learns. So I haven't had that many issues with Charizard. I had a couple close calls. There was one point in time where I was at the fighting gym, and Hitmonchan was out there, and I don't know if I think I thought the wing attack would take it out before it could do anything, and I was wrong. And that Hitmonchan did a Thunder Punch to my flying Pokemon, and I think Charizard took like 25 damage or something ridiculous. Like, Hitmonchan is in a really weird spot in this game where it learns all these elemental punches, but its special attack is really bad, and all of these punches are special in Gen 3, so I had an electric weak Pokemon take that move and not really care at all. Charizard. I am a little worried about what Charizard can do when it comes to the Elite Four and Gary. Obviously, the Charizard is going to do well against the Grass Executor, the Grass Pokemon that Gary has. So that's cool, but most of the Ice Pokemon are part Water. The Fighting Pokemon could, like, I'd be worried to use this thing against Bruno's Machamp because I assume it just has a Rock Attack, and that Rock Attack would be a Deadzo Charizard. So, I mean, I imagine there might be times. I imagine there might be some times where a nice flamethrower to the face will do some damage, but I do feel like Charizard might be a one-trick pony in this team, but I'm going to roll with him anyway. Second member is Vileplume. This is my second Gloom, and it just covers a lot of things like Rock Pokemon, Water Pokemon, whatever. Obviously, Gary is going to have a Blastoise to counter my Charizard, so my Vileplume is the way to take it out. Right now, it's kind of in a weird spot where it doesn't have that many strong grass attacks, and wouldn't learn that many strong grass attacks. I will probably teach it Giga Drain once I get to the Elite Four, and I know I'm not wasting the TM on a dead Pokemon. But I decided to give it what is it, the paralyzing seed called? Stun Spore. I decided to give it Stun Spore over the Sleep Powder because I figured a Pokemon is paralyzed even if Vileplume is gone. It could sleep and wake up, but the paralysis is harder to take off unless they do something like a full heal or full restore. So at this point in time, it's going to have grass. It's got grass attack, it's got a poison attack, it's got a healing move, and it's got the Stun Spore. So that's kind of the route I'm taking with that one. Pokemon to kind of wear down something with time. The Vaporeon is my third member. As I mentioned before, my Eevee turned into I went the water route. There's a lot of good water Pokemon you can get in this game. Like, I almost caught a Gyarados, and that would have been great. I got another water Pokemon on this list that's kind of like the seventh man sort of thing. But Vaporeon is here because I need to take out rock Pokemon. I need to take out fire Pokemon when they do come up. I need someone that can handle psychic Pokemon, which is why it's got the special defense and the bite move. I also need something that can pack an ice move, and this, I think Vaporeon actually learns Aurora Beam naturally, so that's good to take out some dragon Pokemon. That's why Vaporeon is here. Like, Surf is a good move, so a Surf, an Aurora Beam, a bite, something else, like, that's going to work out well. Fourth member of my team is Graveler. I purposely picked up a Geodude, or I purposely went for a Geodude. It was probably Geodude or a couple other Pokemon in Rock Tunnel. I made it so I wouldn't catch another Zubat, even though I do like the Golbat I have. Graveler has been pretty important. Graveler and Golem end up being a Pokemon I like in the first gen in general, but in this game, in a Nuzlocke game, boy, it helps with exploding Pokemon. It doesn't have to care what Electrode does, doesn't have to care what a Coughing does, doesn't have to care what the other exploding Pokemon that I can't remember off the top of my head. It's actually another Graveler, so maybe that wouldn't handle that too well, but it can handle electric Pokemon well, it can handle exploding Pokemon. It has done a lot of good. Obviously, there's Pokemon you wouldn't put a Graveler out on at all, ever, but it has been an important wall to go to handle poison Pokemon, stuff like that. Like, it's been good. That Graveler also has been poisoned by so many Coughings. The Smog move is really annoying. Fifth member of the team, Snorlax. I caught the second Snorlax. The first one I wasn't able to pull off. The second one, hey, I actually caught it. Cool, and nobody died. Sweet. I forget how hilarious Snorlax is. Like, Body Slam is just a great move, right? But it also knows Headbutt. So you can do Paraflinch on the same freaking Pokemon, right? Um, it knows Yawn, and it can learn Focus Punch, which is just a hilarious freaking combination. But it's also probably win more. Like, I haven't taught it this, but you do the Yawn. Um, your opponent gets one more turn. You rest that turn. You use the berry that wakes you up, and then you focus punch their Pokemon while they're asleep, and they're just gone. But also, like, wouldn't 2 turns of Body Slam also have been a really good choice? So I don't know if I'm going to teach mine Focus Punch, but it is a hilarious use of Focus Punch. It can learn a lot of special moves, but its special attack isn't great. So Snorlax seems to be a good pivot point in this game where if you need to worry about certain Pokemon near the end game, you could make your Snorlax whichever way you wanted in order to deal with it. Right now, he just kind of knows powerful normal moves and destroys stuff and doesn't have a whole lot to worry about. My Execute was the 6th member of my team, but now it is a Magneton. I picked up a Magneton in the Power Plant. I'm not doing legendary Pokemon, but I am doing gift and encounter Pokemon like Snorlax, which is why Snorlax is here, but not, Zapdos. I did try to manipulate the Power Plant so that my encounter was either a Pikachu, a Magneton, or a Electabuzz. I got Magneton, and I was like, all right, fine. This is a Pokemon that I like and have used a lot, but come on board. And then, of course, when Execute went out, it was like, okay, Magneton, get your ass in here. And it's been good so far. I mean, I'm in the watery routes, so that's a good thing to have there. It feels like Magneton, like a lot of electric Pokemon of a certain age, are kind of one-trick ponies, but that trick is not bad, right? Like, you're gonna have flying Pokemon that won't like a electric move. You're gonna face Gyarados at some point in time. You're gonna face Aerodactyls. Dragonites fly. Like, all of these things wouldn't appreciate a Thunderbolt to the dome. So yeah, Magneton might just be on the final team. I also have a Lapras. Lapras is good. Lapras you get from Silphco, and that's a named area, and they just give it to you. Lapras could be something like what you teach it Surf, it learns Ice Beam, it's got Body Slam, it's got Perish Song. Like, bam, there you go. That's a pretty decent Pokemon to bring into the final portion of the game. But that is where I'm at with my Nuzlocke challenge. Overall fun grade. It is getting kind of tedious. Like, you keep solving the same puzzles with the same Pokemon, and those puzzles come up again and again. And here I'm talking about, like, the exploding Pokemon. Okay, I'm bringing out my Graveler. A electric Pokemon. Okay, I'm bringing out my Graveler. A water Pokemon. Okay, I'm bringing out my Vileplume. Like, most of the Pokemon in the game don't learn anything, like, tremendously good or weird or whatever. I'm sure by the time I get to the Elite Four, they'll be TM'd up and know all these things that make them hard Pokemon. But because examples like that aren't throughout the rest of the game, like, it is just kind of being a chore. Like, the middle part is easier than I would have thought, and some of my screw ups are just like me messing up, which I guess is part of the game, but I haven't lost anything I've been like super upset about. And I guess I could be having more fun. Like, I'm to the point where I'm like, do I even want to go to Seafoam Islands? Like, not really. Is there some TMs that I need to pick up there? Because I can't think of that many reasons to go there. I just kind of want to get to the Elite Four and get it over with, which isn't like the feeling you should have of the game starting to annoy you. So I don't know if a Nuzlocke is worth it, but I'm glad I'm like getting it off of my bucket list. It does bring up the fact that these games are not designed to be Nuzlocks, and makes you wonder if Pokemon shouldn't design one that should be.